You exceed every target. You solve the crisis before anyone knows there is one. You work late, you deliver early, and every performance review says the same thing. Great work. Keep it up. Then promotion time comes around, and somehow, the person who talks the loudest in meetings gets the job. The one who spends half their day walking the halls, shaking hands, making small talk. You tell yourself it must be politics. It must be favoritism. But here is the uncomfortable truth. It is not a conspiracy. It is how the system is designed. And if you are the quiet worker who has been wondering why results are not enough, this is going to explain everything. This is office warfare, where careers are won, lost, and sometimes sabotaged, and nobody tells you the rules until it is too late. Here is what I'm going to show you. Why organizations systematically overlook their quietest high performers, the hidden mechanism that determines who gets promoted, and it has almost nothing to do with competence, and what you can do about it without pretending to be someone you are not. Once you understand this pattern, every promotion decision you have ever witnessed will suddenly make sense. Here's the thing nobody explains about getting ahead. Performance gets you considered. Visibility gets you selected. Stanford professor Jeffrey Pfeffer has spent decades studying what actually drives career advancement, and his conclusion is blunt. Good job performance is not going to be enough to rocket your career ahead. What matters more? Political skills, networking ability, social astuteness, the ability to make decision makers aware that you exist and that you are valuable. Competence, Pfeffer argues, is often overrated, because once someone has successfully claimed competence and built visibility, that perception becomes self-reinforcing. Appearance is always reality. We live in a world where it is almost impossible to find out the truth. And that is a devastating sentence for anyone who believed their work would speak for itself. Research from Harvard Business School confirms the pattern. In a study of more than 1,800 employees and supervisors, managers consistently rated extroverted employees as more passionate than introverts, even when both groups reported identical levels of motivation and excitement. Extroverts signal passion through animated expressions and visible energy. Introverts demonstrate it through deep work and quality output. Only one of those signals registers with the people making promotion decisions. But here is where it gets worse. Researchers at Binghamton University documented something called the Babel hypothesis. In studies of group dynamics, speaking time had the highest correlation with being perceived as a leader, higher than intelligence, higher than agreeableness, higher than actual task proficiency. People who simply talked more were seen as more leadership material, regardless of whether what they said added any value. If you are the person who thinks carefully before speaking, who waits for something worth contributing, you are being filtered out of leadership pipelines before anyone even evaluates your work. The numbers tell the story. Extroverts earn roughly 20% more than introverts. They supervise nearly twice as many direct reports. 96% of managers and executives display extroverted characteristics, and 65% of senior leaders openly say they view introversion as a barrier to leadership. Meanwhile, studies of actual CEO performance show that introverted leaders exceed investor expectations more often than their louder counterparts. Organizations are consistently selecting the wrong people for leadership, then wondering why performance does not match expectations. This creates what researchers call the competence trap. You become so good at your job that you become indispensable in your current role. Managers resist moving you because you are too valuable where you are. You get praised as essential but never promoted. You watch the organization hire 3 people to replace you when you finally leave. The trap especially catches quiet workers because they focus on mastering their craft rather than broadcasting their ambitions. Now look at your own situation. Think about the last 3 promotions in your department. Did the most competent person get selected or the most visible? When leadership discusses high potential employees, is your name in those conversations? Or are you the person everyone relies on but nobody thinks of as leadership material? If you have ever been told you need to speak up more, put yourself out there more, or be more visible, you are living inside this pattern right now. Here is what works without requiring you to become someone else. First, speak early in meetings rather than perfectly. Research shows people pay more attention to ideas shared first. Challenge yourself to be the second or third voice. Your anxiety drops once you have spoken and your presence is registered. Second, leverage written communication. Create monthly updates for leadership. Follow up meetings with documented summaries. Introverts often excel at written expression, so use it to build a visible track record. Third, build deep one-on-one relationships instead of working the room at large events. Quality connections compound over time, and sponsors who advocate for you in rooms you are not in matter more than casual acquaintances. Fourth, make your ambitions explicitly known. Managers cannot read minds. If you do not tell them you want the next role, they will assume you are content where you are. The game has not changed. Visibility still beats productivity. Perception still shapes reality. But now you know the rules. And knowing them is the first step to playing on your own terms. If this shifted how you see your workplace, hit subscribe. The game has more levels. I will show you each one.